Alright, so today we are going to be talking about this table that's on Lesson Master 3.4b. I want to make sure we talk about kind of the different pieces here, the equation, the slope, the y-intercept, and the x-intercept, and just how we need to find each piece. So most of the equations we're going to be working with on this page are dealing with standard form, which again, if we remember, standard form is our ax plus by is equal to c. Okay? And in your notes, we actually found for slope that the slope in that form is always given by negative a over b. And we found that if you go back in your notes, we just solved for y here. We moved the ax to the other side, that's where the negative a came from, and then we divided by b to get the negative b over a. Okay? If we're talking about a y-intercept, okay, we always say that our x-coordinate is going to be 0. So that's kind of the key that we need there, and our x-intercept is always when y is equal to 0. Right? And so those are kind of the pieces that we're working with here. Sometimes we're going the forward direction like we're going to do here on number 3, 5, 7, and 9, and number 8 as well. But for 4 and 6 we actually have to work backwards a little bit, and we'll work through those ones together as well. Okay? So for number 3 here, I want to start by getting my slope. So if I look here, my equation already is in standard form, which means my a, my b, and my c are all given to me. I have the 3 is a, 6 is b, and c is 18. So if I look at negative a over b, I can just pull my a value, which is 3, and divide it by my b value, and tack on that negative. So I'm going to have negative 3 over 6. Now negative 3 over 6 is not reduced, so I do want to go through and reduce that, which means I would get a negative 1 over 2, because I can pull a 3 out of both the top and the bottom there. So it is a negative 1/2 for our slope. For the y-intercept, I'm plugging 0 in for x. If 0 goes in for x here, I'll have 3 times 0, which is 0, so that just goes away. And I'm left with 6y is equal to 18. So I would go ahead and divide by 6 and divide by 6, and I get that y value would be a 3. And for the x-intercept, same sort of thing, but I'm plugging 0 in for y. 0 times 6 gives me 0 and cancels out my 6y. So I'm left with 3x is equal to 18. We can divide by 3 and divide by 3, and x here will equal 6. Okay, number 4 is a little bit different, so we're going to skip past that one right now. I want to actually jump down here to number 7. So number 7 and number 3 are very similar. The only difference is number 7 does not start in standard form. So right now I have a, b, and c are all on the same side. C here really should be on the other side of the equal sign. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take the 45 and I'm going to add it to the other side so that I cancel out the left side here. And now I'm truly in standard form because I have 2x minus 9y is equal to 45. Okay, from here, your three things are still going to be the exact same thing. So find negative a over b, plug in 0 for x, and 0 for y, and you'll have your three pieces. Okay, I'm not going to do that one for you. I want you to figure that one out for yourself. Okay. Number 4, though, we have the slope and y-intercept given to us, and we need to find the equation in the x-intercept. So for this one, if we think we have a slope and a y-intercept, we've used slopes and y-intercepts before, specifically when we were talking about y equals mx plus b, our slope-intercept form. So if I want the equation, I'm given slope and intercept, I might as well use this and just plug them right back in here. So if I do that, my equation is going to look like y is equal to 0.25x minus 2.5. And so we're subtracting that 2.5. Okay, from there, if I want to find my x-intercept, I still need to plug 0 in for y. So off to the side here, I'll have 0 is equal to 0.25x minus 2.5. If I want to get x by itself, I would add 2.5 to both sides, which gives me 2.5 is equal to 0.25x. And to get x by itself, I'm going to divide by 0.25 on both sides. And x here will then equal a positive 10. If you divide that in your calculator, you get a positive 10. And that's going to be our answer here. Okay. Number 5 is a little bit odd because I don't have an x term. So really what it is it's a 0x minus 5y. But I'm not actually even going to use that 0x. Okay. What I have to recognize here is if I only have if I only have one variable, this is either vertical or horizontal. If it's y, that means I know my y value. My x value can be anything, which means I have a horizontal line here. So this is our horizontal line. Okay, So our horizontal line here, first thing I want to do is I actually want to get y by itself. So I'm going to divide by the -5 on both sides. And when we do that, we have y is equal to a -4. Okay. Now that -4 gives us a couple pieces of information. First of all, that is our y-intercept. That's where we're going to cross our y-axis. In addition to that, if I know that I have a horizontal line, I'm going to draw just a quick picture of this over here on the right side. I have a horizontal line down here at -4. For the x-intercept, I'm never going to cross that line. And so we're just going to say here that it's none. Because I'm parallel to that x-axis, I'm never going to cross it. I can also use this picture to think of the slope. For a horizontal line, the slope is always going to be rise over run. My rise, I can't rise at all, so that's got to be a 0. But I can run whatever number I want. And we know 0 divided by any number does give us 0. So the slope of a horizontal line here is 0. For number 6, this is going to be very similar to this one, but we got to work backwards. So I'm telling you that there is no y-intercept, but our x-intercept is at -7. So again, I want to draw this out real quick. If I know, I'm not going to put any points or numbers on here, but if I know I'm crossing my x-axis at -7 here, and I'm never going to cross my y-axis, I can't go towards this axis at all, and I can't go away from it, because if I go away from it, the bottom's going to come towards it, which means I need to go perfectly in line with that y-axis, or parallel to it, and I end up with a vertical line. So this is my vertical scenario, and if this is vertical, we should have an x is equal to equation, and my x is equal to always my y or my x-intercept here, which is the -7. And the last part we need to talk about is slope for this one. Okay, slope for this one is kind of the opposite of the one above it here. I can rise all that I want, that's my number, but I cannot run it all, so I'm dividing by 0. And we cannot divide by 0, so the phrase that we use here is undefined. So undefined. Okay, number 7 I said I was going to skip. Number 8 is actually very similar to 5 and 6 here, so I'm not going to do that one for you either. My hint to you though is to get x by itself first here. So divide by the 2 and go from there. I do want to quickly talk about number 9 here though as well. For number 9, we are looking at trying to get ax plus by is equal to c, to where I can actually get the slope and the y-intercept and the x-intercept out of this. So for the slope, we actually already have it at the top here. We've worked this equation around before, so if we just know this, our slope is still just -a over b. And for our x and y-intercepts, though, we can do a little bit of work here. For x, or for our y-intercept, our x equals 0. We know that. So for ax, I'm going to plug 0 in for x, which means I'm going to get rid of that entire term, and I have by is equal to c. Now if by is equal to c, if I want to get y by itself, I would divide by b on both sides. So y here is going to equal c over b. Okay, I can do a very similar thing for the x-intercept. I'm going to take the y and plug it in as a 0. That gets rid of my y term, and I have ax is equal to c. So my x-intercept is going to be c over a. So I would divide by that a there to get it to the other side. Okay? So hopefully this gives you a good start here on this table. You do have a couple blanks here to still fill in, and we'll talk about this more coming up in the next couple weeks as well.